Vitu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padam Bhujanmane Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Grasaika Karmane. Number 26, 27 and 28. Tat bhogaya punarbhogya bhogaya tana janmane panchikaroti bhagavan pratyekam vyadadikam dvidha vidhaya chaikam chaturdham prathamam punaha swasvetara dvitiyam shaihi yojanat pancha panchate. Tairandastatra bhuvanam bhogya bhogashrayodbhavaha hiranyagarbhasthulesmin dehe vaishvanaro bhavet Taijasa vishvatam yata devatiryang naradayah. So, let me begin by asking you some questions, just a way to jog your memories from the last class to see whether you're listening or not. First question, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Do you remember how a sukshma sharira is defined? Subtle body is defined. Who can venture?
The 17 aspects to it.
No, that's not it. It's not what I'm asking. I don't say what they are. I said how are they defined? This is going to be interesting. So it'll be interesting. In these classes, what you need to do is very interesting, is to not be lulled by the talks, because you have to think along with me, and only then you will actually grasp the concepts, and then you need to sort of revise it also. So I will point out some of the important things as we go along. But unless we really develop a thinking methodology, and a very interesting thing is that we need to have a good middle ground between accepting everything that I give you. And the reason why that doesn't work is because it doesn't stick to you. You are lulled into, this is a nice talk, wonderful, everything is okay, so on, we believe in this teacher. That doesn't really help very much in maintaining your memorability of the thing. The other extreme is where you question everything. I don't know if it makes sense or not. You don't need to do that as well, and in fact don't do that, because what we are saying is that everything is the truth. It is not arguable. Shruti, when it says something, we have to. So that middle ground is very important. You have to really think about this and so on. Anyway, so with that, what was your answer?
The non-grossified thing is subtle.
Not quite. Not quite. So what I said was that a sukshma sharira is one which is not the subject of our sense organs, indriyas. It is not the subject of indriyas. Anything which is objectified by the sense organs is a gross object. A subtle object cannot be the subject of the indriyas. Now, there is an exception to this, which is the mind. The mind is also an indriya. It can be partially classified as an indriya. In fact, it is the boss of the indriya. It is the one that integrates all of the inputs from the various sense organs, eyes, sense of touch, hearing, etc. And this is, I think this is what it is. This is mind. So the mind can grasp subtle objects. But if you leave aside the mind and look at the traditional 5 sense organs, they cannot grasp subtle things. So the way to divide a sthula sharira from a sukshma sharira is, again, if it is graspable by the sense organs, it is sthula sharira. If it is not graspable, it is sukshma sharira. So this is number 1. Now, so some more, before I ask the second question, which will be a completely different, there are 3 completely different questions. Some more thoughts about the sthula sharira and the indriyas and so on. Another aspect of the graspability of things by our sukshma sharira, by our indriyas is that these indriyas are also, when I say indriya, I don't mean the physical location of the sense organs, like the eyes. I am talking about the sense of seeing, right? So this is what the distinction is between the sense of seeing and the eyes, because I mentioned, we talked about this last time also, that sometimes the eyes are okay, there's nothing wrong. The doctor can say, I don't see anything wrong. This has been happening to my younger brother. He's been having a lot of eye problems, and every time the doctors are having a hard time figuring out. And what they say, everything looks okay. And my brother says, but I can't see very well. And they believe him. It's not as though saying you're lying or anything like this, because he has the one who has to really validate whether he's seeing or not. So all I'm saying is that the sense organs, the sense of seeing and the actual sense organs are different. So herein lies a truth. And that is, which is preceding what is going to come, which is called panchikaranam. And you need to understand how this whole process works. Again, it falls under, really, all of this, because you may be questioning, why are we discussing this? It falls under an understanding of the working of Ishvara. And until you have a love of the artistry of the whole creation, your mind will not be free of trivial things that we are all doing. Not going to happen. Only when you begin to wonder of the creation, you won't take it for granted. And then your inquiry will deepen, and will carry you all the way up to yourself. So this is not just, by the way, it'll be kind of nice to know. This is the path of understanding, which is to understand the sheer artistry of Ishvara. How this thing works is just incredible. There's order to it, there is structure to it, there is reason for it. And then the more we appreciate it, the deeper you get into becoming a real student of the art. So that's the main reason for why we are discussing all this. So going back to it, now that we know that the indriyas cannot grasp Sukshma Sharira, this is one. There is a corollary to this. The corollary is that the indriyas cannot directly objectify Sthula Sharira. Cannot, because the sense organ, the senses, the eyes of seeing and so on, the sense organs, are subtle, and the subtle and the gross cannot meet with each other. Cannot meet with each other. They are at different levels, they are on different planes altogether. So what to do? So here also, for example, as I gave you the example, you can look at it in a very theoretical way, but look at the actual example. So Maheswaranji gave this example. He said, supposing you want to taste ice cream, and I gave you this example. Supposing you want to taste ice cream. Now, ice cream is a gross object. Actually has a lot of sugar in it, very gross. And your sense of taste is subtle. It's very subtle. So what this sense of taste has to do is to rely upon a sthula vastu that it is associated with to carry it to the next level, which is the tongue. So if you just dissect this one example, is interesting. The tongue by itself cannot taste. Cannot taste. So for example, actually there is like 3 or 4 levels of this. If the Atma is not there, then nothing happens. This is the ultimate inquiry. Like for instance, supposing you have a dead body and you put ice cream on the tongue of the dead body, nothing happens. So the crucial part is Atma being there. All tasting is done in the presence of Atma. All touching is done in the... And so for example, if you touch me with a hot object, I will immediately say, what are you doing? Because it is really the Atma through the sense of touch that recognizes the heat. If I am dead, you can burn me, you can cremate me. There is no one objects to it. There's no Atma to do that. So this means that the tongue by itself cannot taste. Not only is the Atma necessary, but the sense of taste also has to be present. Like for instance, supposing you have a very severe cold and your sense of taste is altered. You cannot really taste. You cannot enjoy the ice cream because it won't taste the same. the sense of taste has been damaged because of something. So there are three factors that are necessary. One is that the tongue should not be damaged. This is what happens sometimes if you burn your tongue. Then you cannot taste it. Swami Maheswaranji actually pointed out something that I was not aware of. And he said that for the tongue to taste, it requires liquid. So the spit is very important. And in fact, he says that try this. In fact, apparently it can be done. So you take a paper towel and keep on drying your tongue. Keep on drying it, because then more spit will also come. So you have to keep on drying it until it is so dry that there is no trace of liquid on it. You cannot completely do it, but you can do partially. There will be no sense of taste. Or if you burn your tongue, there is no sense of taste. So into summary, what I started to say was that the sukshma, the subtle sense organs require a sthula place where the two levels are equated. So because a subtle thing and a gross thing cannot intersect, they go across. So the subtle thing has to have a gross equivalent to it, and then the two can intersect. Then they can deal with each other. So this is this word where there is a gross equivalent to the sense organ is called ayatanam. Ayatanam. So this is what was given in verse number 26. Tad bhogaya punaha bhogya bhoga ayatanam janmane. So therefore, Ishvara has to provide with a place where you can intersect the bhogas, the various kinds of experiences that you have. And for that, there is a process why this is done, how this is done. That is called Panchikaranam, which we will now take up. But before I take it up, when I was just thinking about the questions to give you, these next two questions have nothing to do with the Panchikaranam, which I will take up in a minute, but I just want to give you a kind of like a verbal test to see. The first one, you guys didn't get it. The second question is this. How many types of karmas are there?
Three.
Yeah, good. And those are?
Vachik, Manasik,
and
verbal.
so verbal, mental, and physical. Kaika. Kaika is the one. So good, at least you got that part of it. Wonderful. Okay. Then the third question. This is also a very important question. If you find karma and karma phala separated from each other in time and space, what does it indicate?
Adhishthanam. The one which
Sorry?
Adhishthanam.
Yeah, that's part of it. But if you see a phenomena of karma, action, and the results of the action not obvious. Not obvious means that you immediately find the results of the action. What does it indicate?
No continuity of Sukshma Sharira?
No.
There is a sentient being.
Yeah, that's the answer. That there is a sentient being. Because a mechanical thing is not capable of uncertainty. of perceived uncertainty. It doesn't mean that you get the results right away. Like, for example, sometimes supposing you put, I'm just imagining some kind of a contraption where you put a ping pong ball, and 10-15 seconds later, it comes out from a different place. So for 15 seconds, there is no action, there is no palam. Then and there's some machinery that is whirring around and all that, and then 15 seconds later, that same ping pong ball comes out. And next time you do it, maybe the ping pong ball comes out from there. In both cases, there is a machine capable of creating some distance between the karma and the karma phala, isn't it? But it is very predictable, and the machine has to be designed by a sentient being. But to extend this, whenever there is uncertainty about karma and karma phala, it means there is a sentient being who is aware of it. Okay? And here, the examples, if you recall, that I gave you, is a beautiful example by Swami Maheshananji, that if there is a shopkeeper that has two helpers in the shop, and one of them doesn't go out of his way to help, and the other one does, they don't get rewarded or punished right away. Because, the shopkeeper is busy, he's got his own thinking of, during Diwali time, I'm going to give a bonus. That's his thinking. Not like, like supposing you have a laborer that comes in. We just had some furniture moved, and one of the tables was brought in was so heavy. Oh my God, it is unbelievable. It's some kind of a solid marble, and it's 54 by 64 feet. And Pami's, my wife's client, we had no reason for changing any of the furniture, but her client is moving to a different home, and she's just giving away the furniture. She says, just take it. And we didn't want most of it. But this one table, my wife had actually installed in this home about 20 years ago. And it's a work of art. So we decided we might as well get this table. It's actually too big for our family room. Now it has become a work table. It is so big. And so anyway, we decided to get it. It was so heavy. 4 people were needed to move it. You can't even, now that it's at one place, you can't move it at all. My guess would be it's about 300 to 400 pounds. That heavy it is. Anyway, so they were brought in by these moving company. But after we saw them sweat, my wife said, how much money do you have? Oh, I had some $20 bills, this, that, or the other. We gave them a lot of extra money, right there and then. Okay, so we are sentient people, and we could see that they have done it. It's not as though we'll say, you know what, because we are not likely to see them again. We don't have idea who they are. So it's not as though after we'll say, you've done a good job. When Christmas time comes, we'll give you $40 extra. They'll look at each other and say, crazy people, you give me now. So that's different. But in the case of shopkeeper, he's not going to keep on doling out this money and all that. He's got long-term help, and eventually he rewards them. And he rewards the people who are most loyal. So therefore, the answer to this is a very important thing to see. The fact that you have surprises in your life, suddenly something bad happens, suddenly something good happens, means there is an Ishvara. This is the corollary. It cannot be violated. If this is what is called vyavadhana. Vyavadhana means they are completely separated from each other. By now you have forgotten the karmas. And there are karmas that you cannot remember because they were done in the previous lives. You have no idea because you start thinking, why am I being punished? What have I done? I've been a good person. Yeah. You've done something in the past and now you have completed. It is exactly like, this is what my advice to you and Swamiji also is, that if you want to lend somebody some money, somebody says, can I got $100 from you, please? Do not give it to them. Do not give it to them. You know why? They will also forget it and you will also, you may not forget it, but they will forget it. But if somebody says, can you give me $1,000 and you are capable of giving $1,000 and you ask the right question, give it to them. Because you won't be shy of asking that and it's very likely that the person will not forget that. So here's what happens. We have forgotten some of our past sins. And when something bad happens, we'll say, how did this happen? What have I done? Yeah, what about that time when you beat somebody up or something like this? I don't know, whatever. And here, by the way, in just incidentally on this karma question was that when you get a physical problem, it is because of some physical action that you did. When you get mental problems, which is most of it, there's some mental things that you did or verbal things that you did. And mental things could be just having a criticism of people. That also is mental. There's no reason to do that. And so anyway, that's the third question is, which is the most important one, that the vyavadhanatvam, the separation of karma and karma phala, proves only one thing, that there is somebody intelligent behind all of that. Anyway, so that's a separate question answers for this week. And I would like to repeat this, and so please listen carefully and think every time all this happens. Back to Panchikaranam. So this is a very important and often quoted thing called Panchikaranam. So what Panchikaranam is defined in verse number 27. Dvidha vidhaya cha eka ekam chaturtha prathamam punaha swa itara dvitiyamshaihi yojanat pancha panchate. And so here you can actually look at the word meanings later on your own if you would like to, but let me give you the clear answer of what it means. So here's what it means. For your experience, the Pancha Mahabhuta means the 5 great elements are created. What are the great elements? 5 Pancha Mahabhuta. Akasha, which is space. Vayuhu, which is air. Then Agnihi, which is fire. Apaha, which is water, and Prithvi, which is solid, not just earth, but any solid objects. So these are called Pancha Mahabhutas. So one can say, what about the atomic, the list of atoms, a periodic table, and what about that? Isn't that, why are you just doing this 5? And so this is just a way of looking at the indivisible aspects of the whole creation. Indivisible. And it's very possible that some of the atomic structures of these indivisible Pancha Mahabhutas may be constructed with the use of atoms and so on and so forth. That's very possible. But these 5 elements are present throughout the universe. Throughout the universe. There is some, that's it. These are the 5 ones. And now what happens is that these Pancha Mahabhutas are what are called pure. They are pure. Pure in the sense that they are unmixed with anything else. And here a beautiful example was given. Wonderful. So if you look at gold, okay, those of us from India are very familiar with this, especially in the silver. So you may have seen, even the Westerners may have seen this. Sometimes if you go to these shops, they have these sweet, these desserts like barfi and so on. On top of that, there is a very thin layer of silver. In Punjab, it's called work. And they apparently have gold also. I have not seen the gold one, but apparently because it is so expensive, you don't see that very often. But there is gold work also. So the gold work, and also Swami Meshanji said, this also I am not aware of, the ladies may be aware of, Indian ladies or even otherwise, that there is a version of the gold which is available in 24 carats. The 24 carat gold is very difficult to make ornaments out of. Like, for example, this thin layer is good for eating and for displaying, but you cannot make any ornaments out of it. In order to make ornaments out of it, you have to mix it with other things. And in fact, it is done also in the jewelry shops where somebody wants to make something out of a gold. They have to reduce the gold content and put some other metals. I don't know what they put in. Copper? So they put some copper in and they make it from 24 to 22. And then 18, 22 and so on. Now it is available for transactions because the 24 karat gold is so pure that it is not available for transaction. You cannot make any ornaments out of it. Okay? So similarly, the 5 Pancha Mahabhutas are so pure that you cannot really do anything with it. So the next level of the transaction is Panchikaranam. And Panchikaranam is the following. Here's what happens. And so you look at Akasha. Well, let's look at Vayu. That's better. Akasha is a bit more difficult to visualize. So let's look at Vayu, which is air. So what happens is that Vayu, the pure Vayu, is called apanchikrita. Means it has not been combined yet. In fact, the English translation will be non-grossified. The non-grossified air you cannot see, cannot feel, no nothing. Just like the work, you cannot do any ornamentation out of it. But the grossified air, you can feel. How is the grossified air done? So here's what happens. This is called Panchikaranam. Half of the pure air, so I'm just going to make the thumb out of it. So let's say that the half of the pure air is kept aside, 50%. 10% of the rest of them are combined with the other elements. So 10% goes into combination with Akasha, 10% goes into combination with Agni, 10% goes into with Apaha, and 10% goes with Prithvi. 50% remains the Vayu. Now you have Vayu, which is transactionable because it has space in it, very subtle space. It has some air, of course, lots of air, that is the predominant thing. Also has some heat, has elements of some earth and a little bit of water also. And this phenomena is true for all 5 elements, by the way. So the Agni, for example, has half of Agni. Grossified Agni is half of fire, is half of fire. And the other 4 are combination of the other 4. This is how it happens. So this means that the grossified elements, the 5 elements, are the ayatanam. Just like the tongue is the ayatanam for the sense of tasting. And you need an ayatanam. You need a place, an abode. Ayatanam in the English translation will be abode. So how would you touch air? The grossified form of air alone you can touch, not the non-grossified, because it is too pure. You cannot transact with it. So the whole world consists of the grossification of these 5 elements. Beautiful creation by Ishvara. This is what the verse number 27 is saying in a very complicated way. Dvidha vidhaya. Dvidha vidhaya, it's interesting. Dvidha vidhaya means you take each ungrossified ungrossified element and divide it into 2 parts. Dvidha vidhaya means divided into 2 parts. One part you keep for non-combination and predominant. The other part you divide into 4 and combination with the other 5. This whole phenomena is called Panchikaranam. And this shows, actually, in fact, what this number 27 shows is an explanation of the first line of verse number 26. Tat bhogaya punaha bhogya bhoga ayatana janmane. So now the abode is created in order to facilitate your experiences. Why do we need to facilitate your experiences? Because you want it. How do you want it? Through your karmas. I'd like to have some good experiences. And you end up having not so good experiences, but you want to have a good experience. Anyway, we'll go into that some other time. But anyway, this is the phenomena. Now, number 28 defines both at the individual level as well as the cosmic level. The same phenomena. No difference in phenomena. It's not as though the cosmic is different than the individual. They're all the same. Vyashti and Samashti are 2 aspects of the same. That is described here. So he says, Taihi. Taihi means what? From the grossified 5 elements that we just talked about. Taihi. Andaha. Andaha means, not sure why, the miniature word is used. I'm not sure that the word miniature is important here. Anyway, anda means the basic form of grossification is called anda. And by the way, anda is very similar in shape to an egg. To an egg. So this, I'm not sure how this happens, because the basic element is a circle. It should be a complete circle. But along the way, because of some reasons that I have not understood, and maybe it's given in the Shastras, maybe not, there is an elliptical form of the creation. So you can see this even in the formation of the stars and nakshatras and so on and so forth. It's not a complete circle like this, which also is there, but there is in fact an elongated view. This whole shape, and by the way, the entire creation is supposed to be in the shape of an egg. Perhaps because it is the shape of creation. I don't know. But so this is what is called anda. So, which is called Brahma anda. Brahma anda means the entire cosmic creation, or individual anda, which is the eggs of the individuals and so on. But anyway, the entire creation. And you know what's interesting? I think that the word miniature may be okay. Now I see that. Taihi andaha tatra bhuvanam bhogya bhoga ashraya udbhavaha. Let's look at the English the sentence for a minute, and then we'll come back and explain the other things. So from those grossified, it should be really said grossified. Anyway, it doesn't matter, gross element. The Brahma anda, this is where I don't agree, is the word miniature doesn't belong there. It just means the form of the universe is born. And in the Brahmanda, the 14 lokas are born, which I'll explain in a minute. In them, the sense objects and gross embodiments are born. Hiranyagarbha abiding in the gross body becomes Vaishwanaraha. Similarly, Taijasaha attaining the status of Vishwa becomes deities, animals, human beings, etc. Okay? All right, so now that we've read the sentence, now let's put it all together. How much time do we have? We have plenty of time. Okay, so here's what happens. First, the subtle universe is born. The subtle universe is born because the subtle universe before the gross universe is born. So Hiranyagarbha, which is the embodiment, not the embodiment, erase that. It is the form of the entire subtle universe is born from Ishvara. Born in the sense, no real birth, but manifested. Manifested. Okay? So this, if I can pause for a minute and just talk a little bit about the birth, so-called birth. So this you should also understand very well as students of Vedanta. So there are a couple of ways where things are born. So one is called Arambhavada. Arambhavada. Arambha means one that begins. One that begins is called Arambha. Another one is called Parinama. Parinama means the one which transforms. Examples are given. When you make a shirt out of the cotton, supposing you make a cloth, actually that's better, more than a shirt. If you make a cloth out of the yarn, that's the word I'm looking for. Dhaga, I always think about an Indian dhaga, in yarn. So before that, the shape of the cloth was not there. Was not there. They were just individual yarns all lying around and so on. But through weaving them, you create some kind of a cloth. This is called Arambhavada. Example of Arambhavada. The cloth was not there. It was incipient. It's possible. But it was not there. Now, the example of the Parinamavada is milk becoming yogurt. Because there was something which was called milk, and it has transformed itself to becoming yogurt. And one of the characteristics of this phenomena is that it is irreversible. Once milk becomes yogurt, yogurt cannot become milk. Okay, so this is another birth type. Birth type. Actually, in the Arambhavada, you can reverse it because you can make yarn out of cloth. But it is, the other case is not there. So how is the birth of the subtle body from Ishvara through his Maya Shakti done? So this is explained in Vedanta the following way. And in fact, Swami Vidyaranya, in the 6th chapter of Panchadasi, which I do hope sometimes we can take, it's such a beautiful one. It's a long one though. It's about 290 verses. This is only 65 verses. Beautiful. So he explains this. This is called Chitra Deepa Prakaranam. The 6th chapter of the Panchika of Panchadashi is called Chitra Deepa Prakaranam. Chitra Deepa Prakaranam means that Deepa means a light. So the analysis, which means to throw some light, the Prakarana means a chapter in which the light is being thrown in the form of a picture. In that chapter, he discusses how the Brahmanda, the Bhuvanam, is born. And the way he explains that it's a beautiful example which is there in throughout Vedanta, which is manifestation and non-manifestation. You can have different examples of it, but the way he explains it is a very nice way. He says that suppose there is a painting on a canvas. We'll look into that some in more detail. So there is a picture on the canvas, and the artist carries this picture folded up and puts some kind of a yarn on top of it, and it's just sitting there. You don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. Then the artist says, shall we show you what this is? And he shows this beautiful multicolored painting Actually, this is done on a cloth. It's a very beautiful analogy. I'm going into sometime tangent on that, but I'll hopefully will close it. So there it is said, in fact, if I can just finish that whole thing. So what happens is when you have a painting on a cloth, you cannot put a painting on pure cloth, because the moment you put paint on it, it just fills around or completely. You cannot do that. Huh? Smudges it, exactly. It smudges it. So what happens is you have to coat the cloth with some kind of a glue-like thing, okay? And this glue-like thing is now provides a picture that can be put on it. Okay, so it becomes a little bit more. It's not as flexible, but it's still quite flexible. You can still fold it and so on. So the cloth is Brahman, Ishvara, and the glue-like thing on top of that is Maya. Then the artist visualizes all the characters of the picture and makes an outline out of it. So at this point in time, you don't see the picture, but the artist sees the picture. The artist says, I know exactly what I want to do. I want to have a horse here, and a person, and a child, and some mountains, whatever. So the outline is the Hiranyagarbha. It is the subtle body which is in the mind of Maya alone. And you cannot build this on top of Brahman until you have Maya. Finally, the picture is painted. Details are given, and finally it is appreciated. That one is the grossified form of the world. And so therefore, the grossified form of the world is called Vaishvanaraha. Vaishvanaraha or Virat. And so now the Hiranyagarbha needs a body, it needs paint, it needs detail, because otherwise it is just too subtle. Similarly to you and I, actually, we as Atma we have a jivatvam, and you remember this, I already told you this, that jiva equals sukshma sharira. Jiva really means sukshma sharira. And that sukshma sharira lasts for lives, many lives. Ultimately it ends, but it lasts for many, many lives. That is you and I. But for you and I to transact, to express ourselves, we need a body. We need a body. And in fact, it is very clear that during the night, in the dream state, we have our personality in a particular way. So for example, supposing this is what happens to people, that supposing you have a major problem in your life, which really worries you, that worry appears even when you are dreaming. You're not able to sleep very well, and you have nightmares, and so on. And so you are still there as a person, but not connected with the body. There's no body. You are just moving around in your own, just like even in the daytime also, we are really mostly moving around without our body, our ideas. Only when we are hungry or if we feel scratchy, then the body consciousness becomes apparent. Otherwise, you are just upset, happy, which is all Sukshma Sharira. So the Sukshma Sharira just needs a way of explaining. So for example, in the case of a picture, the artists cannot tell somebody, this is the idea that I have. And the person says, what idea? And says, I was thinking of a mountain and then a horse and this, that, or the other. So the person says, well, I don't see anything. He says, it'll come. Well, show it to me. So Swami Vidyaranya says, now to close off the topic, the birth of Hiranyagarbha and in the form of Virat, Vaishwanaraha, is the artist who is carrying this picture in his mind and in fact has already drawn it, but he has not shown it, shows it, unfolds it. He says, here's the picture. The picture was already there. So the birth here is not Arambhavada, it is not Parinamavada, is what is called Vivartavada. So the word Vivarta is used. And Vivarta means that it transforms itself without transforming itself. Exactly like gold becoming an ornament. Without really, it manifests itself as ornaments. And the ornaments can be made unmanifest. And while this manifestation and non-manifestation is going on, there is no change to the gold. You can say there is some kind of a subtle change set in the form of ornament. So the birth of the whole universe is Vivartavada. Not Arambhavada, not Parinamavada. No question of it either. In the case of Arambhavada also, you need to have a process of changing a cloth back to the yarn, isn't it? There's a process. You have to do a lot of work. And in the case of Parinamavada, there is no possibility of reversing. But in the case of Vivartavada, there is no process of going back. It just happens automatically. In fact, we do this every day. We become unmanifest as a human being. And for a while, you become manifest to others. For a while, you become non-manifest to others, because in the dream, you are non-manifest to others. During the waking state, you are at least there also, your subtle body is not visible to others. But through the help of the body, your thoughts become visible. If you're smiling, then you feel this person is happy. And if I'm frowning, then you feel this person's thought must be troubled. He's upset. So there you can express yourself. In the case of a dream, you do not express it to others, but you express it to yourself. And in deep sleep, you don't even express it to yourself. You're completely devoid of it. So there, this process of manifesting and unmanifesting, is exactly like having a painting which is wrapped up. That's exactly what happens. You have these people who come in with 4 or 5 paintings and say, do you want to buy this? And you said, no. Then he folds it back. Okay. He folds all of them back and then he puts it in his pocket He goes to the next place. So the picture is still there, but it's not visible anymore. This is the example that Swami Vidyaranya gives. So now it says, now just look at it. With all of this background, let's look at the verse. Taihi andaha tatra bhuvanam bhogya bhoga ashaya udbhavaha hiranyagarbhaha sthule asmin dehe vaishwanaraha bhavet. So even at the cosmic level, Hiranyagarbha takes the form of Virat. Vaishwanara, same thing, both Virat and Vaishwanara is a synonym. They are two synonyms. Somewhere it is called Virat, somewhere it is called Vaishwanara. So that is that. And at the individual level, Taijasaha Vishwatam Yata. And so what happens is that you as the subtle person, which is called Taijasa, becomes Vishwa. Vishwa is a visible person. So you have, as we have studied we're studying in the Mandukya Upanishad, so you have 3 different manifestations of your personality. One is called Pragyaha in the deep sleep. One is called Taijasaha as a dreamer. And the third one is called Vishwa as a waker. And so the Vishwa as a waker now has some more grossified elements to the personality. And I would say one of the interesting grossified personalities is the clothes that we wear. Then from that is the color of the skin, our gender, our ethnicity, our age, our name. And the names are all different names and so on. But guess what? All the names end with me. All with I. And so, so supposing there's a knock on the door and he says, "Who is it?" And it's what happens when you're married and your spouse comes in and the front door seems to be locked. Usually she should or he should be able to walk in, but some reason it is locked. And he says, "Who is it?" "It's me." "Open it." He says, "You are also called me? I thought only I was called me." He said, "Don't argue, okay? Just open the door." So it's very interesting that all of us are called me. And for a good reason. Because the essence of everybody is the same, I. Others are all different, but there's only one I. And in our ignorance, we think you as the I is different from me as the I, but they are the same. Why? Because you surround your I with your Vishwa. And I surround my I with my Vishwa. So we become Vishwa number 1, Vishwa number 2, Vishwa number... Actually, it's only the same Vishwa. Maybe that's, you can say it, maybe not. But I think it's better to have the unity in the I. I. And so this is how we manifest ourselves. So, okay, now in the very short time, in the 2 or 3 minutes, I'll just give you some details about each one of them, and then go on to the next one. So here what happens is that in the bhuvanam means what? Bhuvanam means grossified forms of existence. Right? Grossified forms of existence. There are 14 bhuvanams. 14 bhuvanams. And 14 bhuvanams, there are 7 swarga bhuvanams and 7 the patala, the hell. So 5 are heavens and 7 are hells. So in the heavens, the predominant issue is sukham. And in the patala, in the hells, there are 7 which are full of dukkha. Lots of dukkha. There was a joke Swami Dayananji once gave. So somebody was sent into a hell, and actually there was 3 or 4 different examples given, but I've forgotten most of them. I just remember 2 of them. So there was then somebody entered the hell, and he says, "So what's going on in here?" So the warden of the hell said, "Okay." So there's like 3 examples given, but I only remember 2 of them. So he says, in this one, you have a room full of 6 feet of the dirtiest water you can think of. And it's got people's urines and shits and so on and so forth. And for 1 minute, you are standing up with your head above the water, and the next minute your head has to be underneath the water. So these, you have to reverse it every minute or so. So he says, okay, that's okay. And what about the next station? He says the next station is where you're given an electric shock every 5 seconds. Huge electric shock, 10 seconds maybe. So he says, okay, that's, well, I see, my God, both of them very bad. And there was a third one that I've forgotten. If somebody remembers it, please let me know. I may have to go to my notes. And then he found that everybody was queued towards the electric shock machine. And nobody is going into this mess. So they asked, why is this the case? He says, this machine was made in India and it doesn't work. It is broken and they don't know how to fix it. So anyway, there are 7 hells and 7 swargas. This is true. It's true, absolutely true. And the only good thing is that unlike the Christian swargas, heavens and hells, this is temporary. Very temporary. Very short. And hopefully the hells are so short. Both of them are very short, because when you're having fun, time passes very quickly. Swamiji says that if you want to really measure time, one time is when you're eating ice cream and having fun and listening to music. The other one is supposing you are asked to stand on a hot plate for 1 minute on your bare feet. That 1 minute will look like 5 years to you. It will be so long. You could not, your feet are getting burned. So this is what happens in hell. This is really true. There are hells and heavens. So this is called the bhuvanam. Then in the Manushya Loka, there are, in terms of, so this is the bhuvanams, these are the worlds. In terms of individuality, there are basically 3 levels. 3 levels. So one is devatas, one is human beings, and the third level is animals. And all 3 of them have their own laws governing them. And this I will briefly discuss in the next class, and then we are done with this verse, and then we will go on to it. But anyway, the transformation of the individual from the subtle aspect of the individual to the grossified of the individual is governed by these laws, both in the entire cosmic level and at the individual level. So this is how the structure of Ishvara's karma, how the subtle body and the gross bodies are done. So with that, I'll close the class and leave about 10 minutes for questions, and we'll go on. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnadachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, any questions? Yes. Sorry. Raman?
In the grossification,
Yeah.
it's 50% of the pure element. The other has to be 12.5 of each. Otherwise, you end up with 90%.
So,
Yeah, 1/4.
So it's 1/8 of each one.
1/8 of each one, yeah, you're right, 1/8 of each one. Yeah, not 10%, as I said, you're right. Yep. Yes?
So, when we talk of these heaven and hell,
Mhm.
these sufferings that we just
Yes.
talked about, I feel that you have to have a human body to suffer because you have the senses and this thing. So when you're in that subtle body, how are you going to feel the fire, the temperature, all the stuff?
Yeah, so you don't,
Just to make us understand the concept, but I guess the karma will be a different way of.
so no, it's not any different. It's, so you do need, you need a body, but you also need a mind, and you also need the ability to talk about it, so verbal karmas and karma phala. So yeah, so in all three of the cases, the devatas, in the case of human beings and the animals, so you have bodies where you can feel the fire, and cold and heat and so on and so forth. So those are kaika karma phalas. So those are bodily karma phala, where you have physical pain. So for example, in our life also, when you have a physical, you break a bone and you have pain or something like this, so that is one kind of pain. But you also have dukkha, which is not based on, so for example, supposing your, one of the worst dukkhas is for one of our children to die before we do. So there, if you look at that, there's no physical pain per se. Nobody beat you up or anything like that. You didn't break any bones. But the dukkha of losing a child, children, before you die is an enormous one. It never leaves you the whole life. And so that is also a dukkha, which is manasika dukkha.
No, but so the thing is, all the suffering that you're happening, okay, the devas, I don't know what the devas, since I'm not a deva. So that will help us understand karmas. Whatever I did, suppose I've done something wrong.
Right.
In my next life, as a human being, I'll see these sufferings and feel the pain and feel the disease.
Correct.
Not in this naraka or such.
No, but naraka, you'll also have a body.
Yeah.
You'll have a body. Naraka and Swarga also you'll have a body. Swarga, the body is much more subtle. There are some differences of opinion about the Swarga Loka. But there's no question that in the Naraka, and in fact the animal kingdom in this one is a form of Naraka, because there is no independence, and their lives are completely taken up by just survival.
So that's the point that, so I agree that there has to be a body manifestation.
Body manifestation. So we didn't say that there isn't. No. Body manifestation is there.
Happenings.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the karma phala is actually at 3 levels also. So the kayika karma, a bad karma in a kayika level, bodily level, transforms itself into dukkha at the bodily level. At the vachika level, it also manifests itself, people saying things to you that are very hurtful. Very hurtful. Now there they haven't really hit you, and they are not just thoughts that you are thinking of, they're saying something to you. People out of nowhere just saying, what did you do this for? And so on. And then at the manasika level, it transforms itself because it transforms into either vachika or to kayika. Yeah. Sorry, Shilpa, go ahead.
So continuing her point and your answer, you said that somebody says something that hurts you, but there are like other people, like saints or that level people like swamis of how they are, so forth. If somebody says something bad to them, it won't hurt them or it doesn't hurt them.
Yeah. So no. So it's what happens is there's a couple of reasons for it. One is, so ultimately what you have to think about is exactly like insulation. See, supposing you are bare feet and you're walking into a field of thorns, it's going to really hurt you. But suppose you walk in the same field of thorns with shoes on, even though the thorns are the same, it won't reach your inner being because of the shoe. So in the case of the thinking people, 2 things happen in terms of looking at it as an insulation. Okay? One is that you often get hurt because you identify with a victimhood. Somebody says something bad to you, and there is a portion of you which says, oh, that may be right. That may be right. Swamiji has this example that supposing I say, John, please stand up. Oh no, John. And if your name is not John, you won't really even look at me. But supposing I say, you foolish people, you all look at it and says, is that me? I don't know. You look around and everybody else is looking around. That means everyone identifies by being foolish to a certain extent. Okay? So in the case of a Swami, when somebody says something bad to them, they don't identify by they say this is somebody else's problem. In my own life also, this is how I find that many times I would be hurt because somebody would say something bad to me. But then I am now coming to a point where I sympathize with them and saying, what a screwed up individual. What kind of a thinking is this? They're just they're calling me bad, they must be calling other people also bad, I think, hopefully. I'm not sure. But I throw it back to them. It's insulation, like wearing shoes. This is one. Though at a more fundamental level, as you understand the very truth about the Atma, you find that Atma is not made up of things that you think they are made out of. It is like space is not made out of air. It has nothing to do with the air. And so the Swami smiles at it because it understands, fine, you're trying to hurt my feelings, but I am not my feelings. I'm different from that. That comes in much later. So it's a gradual process where you don't get hurt by people saying some bad things to you. The first part of that is that you do not allow yourself to be identified as a victim. So this is a relative insulation. Absolute insulation is when you understand that I have nothing to do with this at all. You smile at it.
What about the karma phaladam? If somebody saying, even to the Swami or whatever, people say things, so that means that there's some kind of karma phala is coming at them?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is prarabdha. Prarabdha does not reach the Atma. Prarabdha does not reach the Atma. It is only reaching at the subtle and the gross level, but not at the Atma. Okay, so the karma phala doesn't touch that person at all. But even before, in the first stage, where you are not working as a victim, you're not identifying as a victim, there also there is a lot of insulation. Because of buddhi, you reason that let people say what they want to do. I am what I am. And yes, I may have done something bad, whatever it is, I'm sorry about it. But anyway, I am not hurt by it. Relatively, you may be hurt for just a second, but then you slough it off and say that let's just go on. There's no big issue. Something like that. Yeah.
Now, how can we adulterate the fire? It's glassification of elements.
Yeah, right.
So we cannot glassify.
So there is some air. Certainly there is space. And there is a small element of water also in there, because you're talking about a big conflagration, which maybe there'll be a little bit less water, but otherwise there is water in the fire also, which makes into a smoke. The smoke of the fire is water, and there is earth also. So yeah, it is adulterated also. Yeah. All right. So maybe another couple of weeks, and then hopefully, these people have asked us to, I don't know, they ask us to vacate this room. I don't have to look at when it is, but hopefully by the end of April we should be out of here. Okay.